of Congress and 3/4 of the state legislatures have to all vote in favor of that change.
That's the only. You can't pass something like this and then have it override.
Well, you can if the Supreme Court doesn't do its job, which they aren't doing right now.
Right, exactly. Well, we have the Supreme Court today that thinks this is just hunky-dory. Anyway, line one, we have a call from Jeff.
Hey, gentlemen, how are you tonight?
Okay, hello. Jeff, how are you? Do you have a observation to share about the...
Or a story to tell?
About the Patriot Act? As a matter of fact, this reminds me, and I feel like we've been on this path for probably 8 to 10 years now. Do you guys remember the Anti-Terrorism Act, I think, of 96?
1995. We hopefully will have time to get into that
we'll
today.
Be talking some about that.
Yes.
And I remember back then, the only organizations that even spoke up were the ACLU and the NRA.
Yeah.
Which, of course, the Democrats and Republicans love to paint them as, ooh, there's the extremists, watch out.
Yeah.
And here we are again, and of all places, I read in the Village Voice online the other day that the NRA and the ACLU are opposed to the Patriot II as well as the current Patriot Act.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I just have that feeling that the Democrats and Republicans who support the Patriot Act are going to do the same smear campaign again. Excuse me.
Yeah.
The
anti-terrorism legislation of 1995, which was pushed by that ever so wonderful progressive president Bill Clinton, really eviscerated very quietly, because Bill Clinton was the pretty emotive I feel your pain face. It was actually undermining all sorts of civil rights. Through that, and particularly that...
There would have been more, but some things were thrown out of it, and most of those things are in the Patriot Act.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get to that in a second, but yeah, that's what happened. A lot of the stuff that the Clinton administration rejected all got thrown in to the Patriot Act. Like, woohoo, we've got our chance now. Nobody's looking. What we've been trying to get in here, which these wussy constitutional lawyers keep trying to keep out of our ability to do this, now it's full reign now, brother, and that's what they did with the Patriot Act.
It's just amazing.
Yeah, it is. Thank you for your call, Jeff.
And interesting.
Thanks for having me on the show. Thank you.
Oh, appreciate it.
You're welcome. Call us back.
Yeah, and our number there, you can call us up. But we also have a website. We'd like to get that up. We have all sorts of information on the web. You can also post forums if you have questions or ideas or observations on this. Post them on our forums or write us, or we have an entire database of different articles on that and the other subjects there as well.
Do we have another call?
Yes, we do.
Wow.
Bob, on line 2?
Yeah, how you doing?
Oh, okay,
hello.
Bob.
I had a question on the Patriot Act of how many abuses of this have you had so far? Do you have any statistics on that?
That's a state secret. Part of the Patriot Act prevents you from actually finding out how it's being used.
Yeah, we can't, there are no publicly available statistics or records of that, but we do know of some fairly high-profile abuses that have taken place, and we'll be talking some about those this time and probably a lot about them next time.
We hope to get to that in a second.
Okay, now my second point is on the reading of the emails and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not doing anything illegal, why would you really worry about what the government after? Because, let me finish.
Yeah.
The fact is that on this terrorist act, we are at war with people from the Middle East. So we basically know who they're really looking at it.
Interesting.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying. I'm wondering how that, we also seem to be at war with people from the Middle West, like Democrats in the Texas state legislature and librarians who, don't want to have to share their records of all the things their patrons have checked out of the library.
To say nothing about nationalist militia movements in this country as well, or what do you want to define as a nationalist militia movement, things like that.
I don't see, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I see what difference would it make if the government was looking at what books you were taking out of the library? Would that bother you that much?
Absolutely.
It's none of their
if someone in my neighborhood
business.
was taking books out of the library to learn how to make bombs and things, then I would be glad the government would be looking into who's taking these kind of books out of the library.
Well, it's interesting you should mention that, because I have taken books out of the library that describe bomb making before, but I don't wish to be identified as a potential terrorist just because I'm curious about the chemistry of bomb making. I also, have taken books out of the library about, how to do the best job you can on your taxes, and there might be some people who, if a different political philosophy were to come into sway, who might decide that would constitute something that would make you subject to the kind of treatment that
well, there's also other forms of that kind of abuse, which we hopefully will get into in a second as well, Bob.
Also, it makes it, the Section 815 of the Patriot Act makes it much more difficult for you to sue anyone for inappropriate disclosure about you.
Okay, well,
not just the government, but private companies who inappropriately disclose.
I'd still like to go back to the first part. If you guys could ever come up with some statistics where this is being abused, I'd like to see that.
Well,
we'll try to get to that, Bob.
We certainly are looking.
Bob, we got another call on line 3, so thank you very much, Bob. Appreciate
Call us back.
Line 3, Ray?
Yes, Andy and Ed, hello.
Hello,
Okay,
Ray.
Ray.
Nice to talk to you.
Yes.
Hey, I got a speech here from Congressman Dennis Kucinich, and what he is saying is relative to the Patriot Act, and it's quite long, but I'll read a little of it, and if you want me to read the rest, I will.
Make it a very, very short point. In fact, it would be better if you could send it in and we could post it on the internet, Ray.
Okay.
That would be a better thing to do.
But let me read the introduction anyway.
Sure.
Our Congress gave the President the ability to respond to the tragedy of September the 11th. We licensed a response to those who helped bring the terror of September the 11th. But as we, the people, and our elected representatives must reserve the right to measure the response, to proportion the response, to challenge the response, and to correct the response. Now let me read 2 of the sentences following that, and there's 16 more that I won't go through. Because we did not authorize the invasion of Iraq, we did not authorize the invasion of Iran, we did not authorize the invasion of North Korea, which we haven't invaded yet. We did not authorize, but there's a whole series of those things. He is the only congressman or anyone else in contention for the presidency who is speaking out as voluminously and articulately as he is against the Patriot Act.
Actually, most of the Democratic candidates did speak pretty forcefully against it. I agree with you. Kucinich has made some very prominent and well-thought-out points about it. There's no doubt. And hopefully we can post some of those at some point, or probably go to his website for people interested. I think he's got all that posted on there.
Yes, send that to us, and we can transcribe it onto the internet.
But the dean has spoke out. They've all spoken out. Wesley Clark spoke out very vociferously about that. So thank you for the call, Ray. We need to move on here. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you. When we talk about other aspects of this act and things like that, well, you've got Section 215 when we were talking about the library thing. Section 215 of this act, right here, right after the 214 and 215, if you read it, it talks about how people can go in and check when Bob was talking about library records and things like that in the institutions. The thing is, too, if the FBI comes to check records like library records, your medical records, your banking records, the whole bit, they can't then, the library or the doctor's office or the HMO or whoever cannot then tell anyone that they were there to see it. So
yeah, the Patriot Act forbids them to inform you that there has been an investigation about
you. Yes. And that would seem like, okay, well, you don't want to tell the terrorists that they're being investigated. That makes sense. But the sweeping aspect of something like 215 is very troubling, because the Justice Department has frankly just flat out lied about it. They say, well, this doesn't apply to Americans, okay?
Well, it does, and specifically, I just need to tell you, they used Section 215 of the Patriot Act to obtain access to the credit card records of Democrats in the Texas state legislature who had left the state of Texas in order to avoid being dragged physically into the Texas State House to vote on a